evening, Susnecks. This is Fumbi from We So Nerdy here with Katie to discuss tonight's latest Outlander episode, The False Bride. It's great to be here with everyone. Hopefully you guys had a really good week. How's it going, Katie?
Oh, it's going great. I've had a great weekend. I'm really excited for the break coming up, and goodness, I'm just having a good weekend. It's been good.
Really good week. That's me. So, hey friends, keep in mind a few things before we delve into talking about tonight's episode. So keep in mind that the recap review of The False Bride is live on the site, and it has 3 new clips from the episode. So definitely check out the link right below and go and take a look at that review that was put together by Katie. So thank you, Katie, very much for your awesome recapping and live tweeting skills. Well done.
Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so I also, before we dive in, I also want to take some time to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in each week and watching our reviews of Outlander. You guys have really been so kind and generous. Well, I mean, you guys have always been, but sort of in the aftermath of last week's episode, how sort of really discombobulated I think we both were. It was really, really nice to hear from you guys in the comments and on social media about how you were working through the episodes and your thoughts, and even sharing links with sort of other reviews that helped you get through. So I really appreciated that. And you guys have been so kind and so generous with your supports, again, in terms of leaving comments and certainly in terms of sharing your deep knowledge of the books and of the history. And then also, you know, just sharing our reviews with your friendship circle. So we're really, really grateful. We can't thank you enough. And truly, you know, sitting here every week talking about Outlander, this series we love so much, is a highlight every single week. So we're so grateful to you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Katie?
And I just want to say, you know, kind of repeat everything from we said. We have such a blast talking about this and getting to, you know, kind of explore our favorite show. And it means so much to us when we hear from you guys in the comments or in messages that you send. They really brighten our day, and we flail over them because it makes us so happy. So thank you so much for your support. It's been great.
Seriously, like every time you guys leave a comment, we get an email, and then I take a screenshot of like the comment, and then I circle it and I send it to Katie, and then we just like flail with one another. So we really appreciate it. We appreciate it so much. Okay, so now switching gears to talk about tonight's episode. The False Bride brings us back to Jamie and Claire just as they are leaving Riverrun. They are bouncing from Riverrun, and they're going to make their own path. And the really interesting thing about the episode is how Jamie and Claire's path to their new home intersects with Brianna and Roger's journey in the 20th century. And it's done in a really beautiful way that was unexpected, which is weird to say, but it was unexpected for me at least. So Katie, as usual, I kick things off to you. So what were your main highlights, the main things you enjoyed about The False Bride?
I love that you say enjoy first, because you know exactly where I'm going. And you're like, no, none of that with you yet. So I love you for that. I think what I really liked about this episode was Jamie and Claire being very true to their convictions and leaving Riverrun almost immediately. Like within the first 10 minutes, they're gone. And I really appreciated that. And Jamie is very, you know, he's very firm with his aunt and saying, you know, this is not for them. And so that was great to see him stick beside Claire in that way, and both of their, you know, convictions that they don't want to be around this plantation. They don't want to own slaves. They don't want to be a part of this culture. And even Aunt Jocasta is like, well, you know, I thought with time you would learn to accept our way of life. And they're like, no, we can't do that. And I think one of the things I liked even in that ending was whenever Aunt Jocasta gave Jamie those candlesticks from his mother, because Jamie doesn't have anything from his family. He doesn't have any of those connections left or anything like that. And so to get those, you could see how emotional he was to have that piece of his mom. I like that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I feel like, so in their universe, the situation with Rufus only happened the night before, right? So whereas we've had a week and I'm still traumatized. Like, friends, I don't know how about you guys. I'm still traumatized. Like, I'm still legitimately working through that episode. So I just imagine like Jamie and Claire are waking up like the morning after, and they're like still very deeply, they're feeling very deep emotions about what happened in the previous night, and very much upset about it. And they're like, no, we can't stay here anymore. This is not the life for us, in this community, in this lifestyle, participating in this institution of slavery. This isn't for us. And, Jamie's really respectful about it, right? He goes to see his aunt and he's like, I appreciate all you've done for me. He even tries to give the money back. And she's like, no, keep the money for the sake of your family. And he's really respectful about it, and you could tell that Auntie Jocasta, she wants Jamie there. She really wants Jamie there. And the thing is, like, so part of me is like, it's out of love, right? Because she too has been away from her family, and her husband has passed away. So you can imagine that she wants to have Jamie, who is this link back to Scotland, there with her. But I also can't help but think there's like, she's a Mackenzie, right? Like Solomon Dougal, she is a Mackenzie. So there also seems to me to be like potentially an ulterior motive. I mean, it could be sort of his business acumen, and in Jocasta's conversation with Claire, we see some of that come out. But there's definitely an ulterior motive. But even in that ulterior motive, as you said, Katie, Auntie Jocasta sent him on his way with supplies, as well as with John Quincy Myers, this person to help guide the way, and these candlesticks. So it's really, really lovely, and you could tell that there's a bond between them. So it was lovely to see. And I still feel some kind of way about Auntie Jocasta though. So I'm still waiting.
No, I agree with you. And that was one of the things I was going to say is John Quincy Myers, whenever he says, your aunt has told me that you're going to Williams Creek, and Jamie kind of looks up at the porch, like he knows that this is his aunt's way of keeping an eye on him. And so I think that is her, that Mackenzie in her going, I'm letting you go, but I'm also going to know where you're at.
Exactly.
And what you're doing.
For sure. And I mean, Auntie Jocasta has been keeping tabs on him all these years. So there's no reason for us to believe that she won't continue to do so. But like, so we have that interaction with Jocasta and Jamie, which is like, I mean, it's a fraught, but they part I would say that they part amicably.
Yeah.
Neither one is happy, but they part amicably. And then you contrast that with Jocasta and Claire, where Claire is also like really frazzled, I think, from the night before, but she doesn't want to burn any bridges. She comes to Auntie Jocasta and she says, I just wanted to say goodbye and part ways. And then the conversation goes pear-shaped. It goes pear-shaped.
It does. I mean, it's essentially Claire going up, and this is how I tweeted it. It's like Claire going, I just want to say goodbye. And Auntie Jocasta is like, you're ruining my nephew's life. Like, that's essentially like all it is. And it makes Claire start doubting, what is going to make Jamie happy. Because, she says something about Jamie, being a waste behind this printer's desk. And so for Claire, yes, they want to be away, but Jocasta does make her start doubting a little bit the motivations of Jamie.
Do you want to read the quote? Do you want to read the quote?
I do, but I can't sound Scottish, so I apologize.
There's nothing to apologize for.
I just sound like straight Southern.
And you sound wonderful.
So, anyways. Jocasta says, you're doing him a great disservice, And Claire's, I beg your pardon. She says, you're the reason he wouldn't accept my offer. You're a good deal of influence on him, and he's blinded by his passion for you. if you truly loved Jamie as much as you say you do, you wouldn't want him to you would want him to be the man he was born to be, to have the things he lost in Scotland, the chance to be a laird.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh.
I know. Was that really, Aunt Jocasta, really? Was that necessary? But Claire, I think Claire takes it in stride. You know what I mean? Claire is like, actually, you don't know me. You don't know your nephew. You don't know what we have with one another. So as I said before, goodbye. And she pieces out. It's like,
I love it. She's like,
golf clap. Yes, Claire, you did the right thing.
She's like, good day, ma'am.
Yes. And she rolls out. And she rolls out. And you know, like, as I said, Jocasta is a Mackenzie. You know what I mean? So that's why that's not to say I don't believe that she wants good things for Jamie. I think she does. But it seems to me that there's definitely an ulterior motive there. And plus, Jamie and Claire know what they're doing. And the fact of the matter is that participating in what happened the night before with Rufus, that cannot be a regular occurrence. That cannot be a regular occurrence. So they're done and they're leaving immediately. So bye, Auntie.
Bye.
Bye.
And then meanwhile, we have Ian, who's like, oh, I'm not going back to Scotland. And he's like, I'm a man now. And now for me, like, I respect him completely. And he has seen so much stuff. And he has grown up so much. But I feel very Jamie and Claire in the situation where I feel like, no, you're wee Ian. We must protect you. And so, but I thought it was so, I don't know. I liked it when he said, you know, a man writes his own letters.
Yeah.
And he takes that away from Jamie and he's like, I'll write my mom and tell her I'm not coming home.
But the truth is, I think Jamie needed to hear that. Right? Perhaps, let me rephrase that. I think Jamie was waiting to hear that from Ian, because in fact, Jamie's right. He made a promise to Ian's parents that he was going to save their son and make sure their son comes back home, right? But the truth of the matter is that, as Ian says, he's experienced so much. And if Jamie and his dad, you know, sort of set a path for themselves, that, you know, they left home, they went to France, they fought in war when they were even younger than Ian. Here is Ian now, you know, wanting to be an adult and make adult decisions and sort of look at the world from that perspective. So I think Jamie was waiting to hear that from his nephew. And when he did, you see Jamie's face. Jamie's like, okay. I mean, you want to be treated as a man. You've certainly earned that respect. Fine. This is your decision. You make the decision. So that was, that exchange was a really good one.
I like that a lot. And I think you're right. And I didn't really think of it in that way. But yes, like Jamie needed to hear that. He needed to know that Ian was kind of ready to be, I guess, a man in his eyes. But it is really hard for them to let him go.
Yeah.
They both kind of, Jamie and Claire kind of like look at each other and they're like, I know he's doing his own thing, but you know, do I say? And they're just like, go on, you know, go away. And so maybe you can answer this for me, because this is a question that I had when I watched it the first time, and I had it tonight too. And maybe if someone who's watching has this answer as well. How much time has passed since Ian was kidnapped?
Ooh,
that's what I wanted to know.
I don't think it's been more than, I would say at maximum, it's been like 4 to 6 months. That's what I think, but I'm guessing. So our friends who are watching, if you guys know the timeline better than I do, please share. But I would say, I don't think it's been more than 4 to 6 months.
See, I didn't think it had been that long either, but I was sort of confused, because when we go to Bree and Roger, it seems as if several years have passed, because he's like, I saw her last summer and I saw her in Christmas again. And so like, I was really confused about that timeline. Like it confused me.
Barbara WM clarified for us and said in the first episode they indicated it had been about 4 months. I recall that. So thank you very much, Barbara.
Thank you.
So it's been about 4 months. But the thing is, like in the 20th century, I think so they spent the Christmas together. Remember, it was the Christmas after, like, right as Claire had left. So they spent that Christmas together. And I think they spent the following summer together as well. So I think we're just in that, potentially that fall period. I don't know if they had spent another Christmas together. Is that what indicated? I should pay closer attention.
Well, not like at the beginning of the episode, Fiona is her name.
Mm-hmm.
She says, how often have you seen her? And he's like, well, not much. We spent Christmas together and then the summer. And then it sounded like he said he spent another Christmas in Boston. But I don't know how that.
Well, the truth of the matter is that I think time may move a little differently.
That's what I was wondering.
I think time may move a little differently. Although I think at maximum it's been maybe 9 months.
Yeah,
for Bree and Roger. That's what I'm thinking.
It hasn't been like terribly long.
I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, it's been 4 months since the hurricane, and then since first leaving Scotland when Wee Ian was first kidnapped, maybe an additional like 3-ish months. So actually they probably are on the same timeline now that I think about it. If I sort of take a step back and think about it. I don't know. Folks watching, what do you think? But it is interesting to sort of take a step back and think about how in the books it's actually older Ian Sr. that's the catalyst for Wee Ian staying in the Americas. Like he sends a letter to Jamie and asks Jamie to keep Wee Ian with him. But I think this change in the book to let like Wee Ian have a little bit more agency in making that decision and using that as like further character development is something that I really appreciated.
Yeah, I like that too. I like that he was able to make that decision. So, they get on their way and they've been blessed with a lovely mule named Clarence. Who makes a ton of noise.
Clarence, our cherished Clarence.
Gosh bless him.
The mule. Like Outlander has such like iconic like pets and creatures. So we already have Rolo, and here we have Clarence. So it was very nice to make Clarence's acquaintance tonight.
It was super sweet. And the Ulysses says, he's like as loud as any other animal that you'll ever meet. And that is so true. Oh my goodness gracious. This animal cannot stop making noise. But I guess it's good. Everybody is their own. And this is just Clarence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that evening, Ian makes, the announcement that he's going to be traveling with John Quincy Myers to the to trade with the Native Americans at a trading post, and that Jamie and Claire are going to go to Williams Creek and they'll meet him there. And of course, this is where all bad things happen, because once you split up, that's where the bad stuff happens.
But before we get there, I just want to say that again, John Quincy Myers, guys, okay, forgive me if I'm being mean. He creeps me out. Like every time they keep referencing, like every time Ian references that he's like been with a lot of Native American women, I'm like, really? Is that like, and even Claire's face, I feel like Claire's face is like my face. Like, Ian, seriously, this is what we want to be talking about? And like, are we going to start talking about his hairy ass again? Like, come on, why why is this what John Quincy Myers is known for?
I know. And what's even better is like Claire's face, and I feel you're right. Like Claire's face is my face whenever Ian's like, I love this country. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Jamie, talk with Ian before like he gets into some trouble. But John Quincy Myers in that scene, whenever he's like, his face kind of gets embarrassed because he's got Claire upside him. He's like, I never put a number on it. And he's just like avoiding. He's like, oh my God.
But he says something interesting, right? Which is that, you know, Cherokee women like can choose they choose their husbands, they choose who they want to marry. And prior to that, they choose who they want to take to their bed. And I don't know. I just liked hearing that. It's like, yes, consent.
I like that too. Because it totally puts into contrast the civilized culture on the out, you know, that people are bringing in.
Sure. No, well said. But then they decide that you're right, Ian is going to journey with John Quincy Myers, and Claire and Jamie continue on their way. And on their way the next day, something that stood out to me is that Claire and Jamie have a really interesting conversation about Bree and Frank.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was so well. Okay, so I will say that in the books, what I liked about sort of this, it is a very complicated situation. But what I liked in the books is that Jamie reflected more on sort of how he felt about this daughter who he's never met and will never know was so close to this other man, right? And Jamie sort of reflects on how that makes him feel. But I feel like in the TV show, like, you know, Claire talks about Bree, you know, she was still sort of struggling to find her path before I left. And, you know, she was closer to Frank, which is why she picked history, because, you know, she wanted to please him. And like, there's like no reaction from Jamie. And I'm like, Jamie, aren't you going to say something about the fact that you have this daughter who is very close to another? I mean, do you have any feelings about it at all? So I was kind of disappointed. By the end of just a second later, Jamie's like, oh, look, the storm is getting bad. It's like, can we not talk about the weather? How about we talk about this situation about your daughter? I don't know. That's just how I felt. I wanted more.
See, I wanted more too. And then I kind of I looked at his posture and stuff as she was talking about that, because I was like, oh, this is awkward. Like, I'm like, oh, this is really awkward. And, you know, I know that Jamie has said that he's very thankful that Bree had a father figure like Frank who loved her and cared for her. But in his posture, he sort of seemed a little bit like he didn't know what to say.
Okay.
Because I think he feels that he's missed out on Bree's life. But at the same time, he's kind of at a loss for how to approach the situation, because he wanted Claire to go back. And when Claire went back, it took away that future with Bree. Yeah. But I don't know, like, I have a feeling that if what I think is going to happen happens, we may see some conversation about, you know, dads and stuff.
Well, the thing is, like, and I guess I will probably mention this again when we get to the conversation about what happens in the 20th century. But that's one thing, again, that I really sort of sympathize with in terms of Bree's character, is that, you know, she is a person, right? This man being Frank that she completely adored. She was a daddy's girl. And then to find out that, you know, that's not actually her father. So something that Bree really wrestles with in the book in terms of her personality is, you know, which parts of me are, you know, my biological father, which parts of me are, you know, this man who I adored, who raised me, right? And that's something that sort of in terms of her identity, like, she sort of wrestles with. So I don't know. I just want to see more. I just want to see more. And apologies. I recognize that I'm being impatient.
You're not.
We're only in episode 3, so I recognize this, my friends. But my sincere hope is that in terms of sort of Jamie's reaction to, sort of wrestling with the fact that another man, has this pride of place in his daughter's life and heart, and sort of also with Bree sort of wrestling with, who am I, which parts of me, can I identify with these different people? I want to see more of it.
And I still, like, all this does is it reminds me that Jamie really hasn't had a hand in raising any of his children. And that's gotta be, that's gotta hurt Jamie, because Jamie is such a family-oriented man. That's gotta be really devastating for him to know that he has, he has Bree and he has his son, and he's never really been able to hold that position in their life as that father figure. That's sad.
No, it's really sad. And we commented on this, last season, and I have a feeling we're going to continue to comment about it, as we continue through this series. It is something that that Jamie has wanted, but he has been able to put a family together, right? And I think in the conversation, sort of bouncing back to something you sort of where you were leading us, Katie, is this conversation that they have when Sam is like trying to fix the horse's shoe, and Claire asks him, right, would you be happy, yes, you were a printer, would you be happy going back to that? I just want to make sure that this decision to leave Riverrun, you're not doing it just for me. And, Jamie says something so fascinating, right? Which is that, if it was just me, like literally, I would probably still be an outlaw. I would just live my life at bare minimum. And then when it was time to die, I would lay under a tree and the birds would eat at my bones, right? But he knows he can't do that because he has these people that he cares deeply about that are counting on him, like Claire, like Ian, like Fergus, like Marsley, right? So even though you're absolutely right, he hasn't been able to raise his biological children, he has this family around him, right? This large group of people who depend on him, and Jamie needs that, right? Jamie absolutely needs that. So that is part of what motivates him. That is part of what moves him along, and is sort of a trajectory in his pushes him along the trajectory of his journey. So that was a really interesting conversation.
I liked that. I mean, and I think you're absolutely right. He does have a family that is so much bigger and so much, I guess, he may not have his own biological children, but he does have people that he's responsible for and that he loves. And Fergus is very much a son to him. One of the things he tells Claire is he says, I lay the world at your feet, Claire, but I have nothing to give you. And that broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because Claire never once tried to find Jamie because she knew he had his money or he had his businesses. Claire's traveled through time to get to him because she loves him. And I think as long as she has Jamie, then she'll be okay. That's all she wants. And so I'm waiting for Jamie to realize that you are everything. As long as Claire has Jamie, everything is right in the world.
Oh my gosh, Katie, I'm feeling so emotional right now. I'm already a basket case, but please understand everything, Katie, what you articulated, that is what takes me through every single book. And granted, I've only gotten through book 6. I have not read book 7 and 8 yet. But that is what gets me through each book, is the fact that by the end of the book, Jamie and Claire will be alive, Jamie and Claire will be together, and Jamie and Claire will be in love. That is what motivates me, and that is what pushes me through each book, because life is not easy for these two. It never has been from the beginning. I imagine even up until books 8, 9, 10, and beyond, it will continue to be the same thing. Life will not be easy. They will go through crazy ups and downs, but when it's all said and done, they will be alive, they will be together, and they will be in love. And that is that's what I love most about this series. I mean, that's why I read the series. It's for that.
And they're solid. They're solid. And no matter what comes their way, especially now, they're going to go to it as partners. And I love that so much. I love that mature relationship that they have. And one of the things that Jamie said, you know, about going under the tree and just letting wolves gnaw at his bones, like whenever he's, you know, too old to go on. I found it really interesting that Claire ends up, you know, huddled underneath a tree for protection behind the skull.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, so someone else had a similar idea. Super. And so I was really concerned about that because and I know that it has like silver fillings, and she's like, who are you? And Claire's like a master at finding, you know, skulls. But I'm super concerned because, like, and I've never read the books. I've already told you all this. I've Googled. But, like, what if, like, a book whatever that's not released yet, like, Jamie goes to the future and gets, like, silver fillings and then goes back and this all ties together because it's a circle.
Well, okay. So let's backtrack a little bit. So Jamie and Claire are having their conversation. They come back together and saying that, you know, we're here for each other. It's going to be fine. And then Clarence, being a literal as well as figurative jackass, decides that he's going to want to run off because he's afraid of the lightning and thunder. Clarence, where you going to go? But he takes off, and Claire, you know, takes off after Clarence. Clarence's jackass behind comes right back to Jamie, but Claire is out there in the wood, just lost.
Yeah.
Her horse gets spooked when lightning hits a tree. She's knocked unconscious, and you're right. Like, she wakes up and she, you know, sort of finds this little hidey area, like in some shrubbery under some trees, to like protect herself from the elements a little bit. She takes off her boots. She finds a skull, and then she starts to see like a Native American spirit. At first she thinks it's Jamie. It is not Jamie. It is a Native American spirit that is like, and the way like the filming of it, you know, like every time, like it like disappears, then gets closer, disappears, then it gets closer, it disappears, and it gets closer. It's like, that's so creepy, but it was awesome, right? And and then Claire realizes that, you know, because the skull has like a crack in the middle, and then when the spirit turns around, she sees that same sort of like that same wound there. So we now know what is going on, and it is so creepy. But the spirit does not attack her.
No, he's super sweet.
Well,
I mean, not sweet, but I mean, he does a purpose.
No, you're right. I mean, because he then like takes her boots and like uses the footsteps in the mud to lead Claire to Jamie, and then leaves the boots like where Jamie will find them. So eventually they will get together. So it's true. The spirit does a really good deed. The spirit does a good service. But it's interesting, right, to think about why.
See,
right?
I want to know why.
Why would that? I have a hypothesis, but like, why would that spirit lead Claire there? And you have to keep in mind, right, that it sets a set of events in motion, right? Because it's around that area that Jamie and Claire find the strawberries, right? And decide that this is going to be where they settle. This is, this is a sign, about this is where Frasier should be, right? So you have to sort of like, why would what does the spirit recognize about Claire that made the spirit decide, yes, this is someone that I am going to assist? I have an idea, but I want to hear what you think.
Oh, I'm sitting here just like this, going, "What's your hypothesis?" Because I don't know. Like,
well, okay, so so we know that it's a Native American man, and Claire looks at the skull and sees the silver fillings, right? So a Native American from the future is presumably also a time traveler and goes back through the American stones, whatever they are, to come to this time period to meet an earlier generation of Native Americans before they are made extinct by the British, right? So why would that happen? Why would Native Americans from the future want to come back to the past? Why?
I love this. I love this so much. Oh my goodness. Yes. Because like if Jamie and Claire keep trying to go back in time to like change things and make things better, then why in the world wouldn't somebody else have that same idea?
And let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that.
I love it.
Let's leave it at that. But I think it makes sense, right? That potentially the spirit sees the boots and sees there's a zipper. Zippers ain't been made yet, right?
See, I was so confused until I realized those were probably the ones that she brought back. I was like,
right? So it sees that the Native American spirit recognizes Claire as a fellow traveler, right? And in doing so, then offers his assistance.
You're brilliant. Good job. You're awesome.
Girl, thanks. Also, I read the book.
Oh, it was in the book?
Was that, I'm trying to think, was that exact, I can't recall if that exact scene was in the book, but something similar unfolds in the context of the book.
Cool.
Something similar unfolds in the context of the book, yeah. So, silver fillings, future Native American person is our friend, and Jamie and Claire are reunited. They continue on their way. They find a place where strawberries are growing.
Mr. Strawberry.
Jamie reflects on, his predecessors who settled in Scotland and how they decided, this was the place they were going to settle. And it's a sign. It's a sign. This is where the Frasers will be. This is where the Frasers will be here.
It's got a glorious view.
True.
I mean, fantastic view. He could not have picked a better spot.
Or Mr. Native American.
Or Mr. Native American Spirit Man. I mean, it's beautiful. And yeah, it's Fraser's Ridge. And it's home.
And it is home. And like that was a really lovely ending. After the way the previous 2 episodes ended,
yes.
I'm saying we just needed, this is what, for me, for like my soul, I needed this moment of Jamie and Claire just like together and happy and in love and looking out into the future, right? I mean, this is where we will build our home together. So it was, again, really optimistic. I thought it was lovely. I
did too. And I think it puts us in a position to talk about Bree and Roger now, because Jamie and Claire putting down roots and kind of documenting those roots is what's going to lead us Roger's discovery, essentially. And that's the preview for next week, but it also kind of ties into something that happens in this episode. And so they needed to find roots and, make a home, because, we need to figure out where they're at. It's important.
Exactly. That's one thing that, like, I think it's really interesting, because like when Bree and Roger are together and Bree is saying like, she hopes her mother like reunited with Jamie and that they found each other and that they're happy. And like, I think about like, if I were Bree in that situation, I would be terrified. You know what I mean? Like, I have absolutely no idea if my mother is alive or not. I just have to sort of trust and go on faith that she, found the love of her life and was able to journey back safely. But if I were Bree, I would be terrified.
Oh, and that's one of the things. I don't know. It's so hard for me to think about Bree and Claire in these situations because, you know, for Claire, you know, her mom, I mean, she's a mother, like, she's nowhere near her daughter. She has no idea how, if she's okay, if she's been sick, if she needs help. And that's so worrying. And she does tell Jamie, you know, there's not going to be a day that goes by that I don't worry about her.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bree, she's like, she doesn't know if her mom made it. She doesn't know if she found Jamie. She doesn't know if she'll ever see her again. But she's like, you know, I hope.
Yeah.
I hope that that's where she's at. And I can't imagine the loss.
Yeah.
Because she loses Frank, she loses her dad, and then she loses Claire. And she's sort of on her own trying to navigate and figure out who she is.
Yeah.
And that's...
And then there's Roger.
Okay,
I know. So, okay, we're going to talk about it. Because I know you have lots of feelings about Roger. I also have lots of feelings about Roger, but you go first.
Okay, so I love Roger. I've loved him for so long. I think that he and Bree are kind of like perfect together. But y'all, he disappointed me tonight so much. Like, I know he was hurt. And I know that when you're hurt, you say things that kind of fly off that you don't necessarily mean or that you wish you could take back later. But the thing with Roger is he kept building on those really crappy things. Mm. And he never stopped to think about Bree's reasonings, like why she didn't want to get married. You know, he sprung this on her so fast. Like when it was happening, I was just like, oh no, slow down, look at her face. Oh my gosh. Like I was sitting there going like this because I couldn't believe he just kept going. Because like her face is just like,
okay, but can we so as I said, I have a lot of feelings here. And I agree with you that Roger did not do the right thing. He did not do nor say the right thing. However, I can't help but to read the situation from Roger's point of view a little bit. And when I say that, please give me the benefit of the doubt because I do not support like slut shaming or whatever. But like when Roger arrives at the airport, right? They're happy to see one another. They start on this road trip to North Carolina, right? They're playing that word game, and that's really like fun. They're sharing French fries and like milkshakes, and that's really fun. Like she cleans off ketchup off of his like cheek, and then she leans over and like kisses him, and you know he almost crashes. Right, so like they're having and then you know it's so adorable, and then you know they're at the festival. They get to the festival, and then you know they have their portraits done wearing Mackenzie tartan, and you know they're dancing, and then you know Roger sings that night, and oh my God, Rick Rankin, can he sing? And he's like Roger's basically like serenading her in the audience. Like, you know, there's this woman and I love her well, you know what I mean? And that's Bree he's talking about, you know? So like, you have to, there was a context is all I'm saying. There was a context. So by the time that night comes and, you know, Bree gives him this present, they have a drink, you know what I mean? Like Bree is thinking more like, you know, of sexy times, and Roger, like I feel like that's how he's reading the situation. Like I'm so in love with this woman, and guess what? I think this woman is in love with me too. So I'm going to go for it. That's what I think.
Oh, I agree with you. I think that he is like, he reads all these things the right way, but what made me really disappointed in him was when he didn't listen to her reasons for no. Yeah. He sort of wrote it off, and he's like, so I'm good enough for you to sleep with, but not marry. And she's like, wait, no, that's not what this means. And she's like, this is really fast. Like, and so I really wish that he would have listened more. But I think Roger, being Roger, is going to think on these things and then go,
yeah.
I should have, because that moment where he says, either I'm going to have all of you or I'm going to have none of you. Yeah. I was like, dude, you just said you were in love with her and you wanted to marry her. And she said, I'm not sure marriage is for me, but like y'all could have worked this out, but you were like, ultimatum.
But the thing is, like, okay, guys, I apologize. Like, I'm not, because I really do feel for, like, sympathize with Brie in this situation. But I don't know, maybe just sort of thinking about my own personal life. And no, this is not a therapy session. I realize that. But like, thinking about, like, coming from a place of sort of perceiving your relationship is headed in a particular direction, and believing that you're in this with, like, the other person you're in this relationship with is sort of in the same boat with you and sort of on the same wavelength with you, and then to, like, be jarred out of that and, like, to experience that very deep rejection, right? Like, he was in a lot of pain. It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse, but he was definitely reacting out of pain, right? That I love this woman, or I believe I love this woman, and I want to build a life with her, but she doesn't want me, right? So then he says really horrible things to, like, hurt her. And he's like, I thought you were a virgin, right? I thought you were a good Catholic girl. And he's basically being a hypocrite because, like, he's been with women before, like, he's been with other women, and, like, Brie says that she's a virgin. I believe her to be. And if she were to sleep with you, that would not make her any less of the wonderful person that she is and that you are in love with, right? So, and, like, even, like, the next night when Brie comes to sit with him and he's like, have you changed your mind? And she's like, no. And you're right, Katie, like, she tries to walk through the reasons of that, thinking about, like, her parents' marriage, and how that, sort of the trauma, I guess, that she's still dealing with from that, and he's just not listening, which is not right.
Yeah.
But
I like what you're saying. I honestly, I think that if given some time to kind of think on all the things that happened, I think that they're both gonna, realize. I think that things are gonna be okay, because I do agree with you. I think that I almost called him Richard. I do think he acted out of a place of, he was hurting. He was hurting very much. And, but I look at Brie and I'm like, I see so much Claire in her and that temper.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh, don't back her into a wall and start saying this stuff. It's not going to be good. But then he's a Mackenzie too. And I'm just like, oh, so much passion in this one room.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And again, I sympathize with Brie as well. I do sympathize with Brie as someone who's, like, again, like I mentioned before, she's just, like, her entire her sense of who she is, she's still working on it, right? Like, she's in college, she's still sort of trying to figure out her major in terms of, like, her own identity. Again, like, her connection to her mother, who isn't there, her connection to Frank, her father, who raised her, but, who isn't there, her connection to Jamie, this Highlander, who she doesn't know, but is her biological father, who also isn't there, right? So, like, her sort of trying to figure out who she is, like, as an individual, but then also as someone who's in love with this guy, right? And sort of thinking, how do I put all these pieces of myself who don't, like, these pieces that don't seem to go together, how do I put them all together into to form me, to form who I am, right? And that's something that Brie is really wrestling with. And she absolutely deserves that time. She deserves that time to think and to reflect and to decide. And Roger was not at all respectful of that. And I did not like that at all.
I like what you said about putting all those pieces of herself together.
Thank you.
Because I think that's such a good way of describing it for Bree, because she is trying to put all those things together. But there were two things or actually there's three things, and that's my pinky that's like, there's three things. My pinky looked so weird. It was like a 3.5 things. That happened in this segment with Bree and Roger that are super, super important. One is the portrait, one is the bracelet, and one is the book. And so, like, that was one of the things that I saw that I, like, flipped out on when I finally saw the portrait. I was like, oh my gosh, yay, that's where it comes from. And so if you pay attention in the opening credits, you'll see that there is that portrait of Bree that's been there since the beginning of the season. And so that's going to come into play. Like, how did it get there?
And how, presumably, there's a lady who's dressed in, like, 1700s style clothing wearing a similar looking bracelet. How did we get there?
How did it get there?
How did it get there? We don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know. But we might yet know. No, and one thing, and again, sort of bringing this back, circles, right, is how I thought Jamie and Claire's story, like, even, like, certainly visually, but even sort of, like, thinking in terms of, like, the journey, like, the way that they intersected, like, the transitions, I thought were so well done. I really, really liked it.
I love that one scene where the car goes down the road and then it changes and it's Jamie and Claire's.
That bend.
Well done.
It was so great. It was so great.
That was fantastic. I loved that part.
No, for sure. No, I think tonight was a good episode. I mean, for me, like, just as someone, I thought it was a good reprieve, even though, again, that's not to say that we weren't dealing with drama. We were dealing with quite a bit of drama, especially in terms of, like, Roger and Bree. And I mean, the hope is that somehow, you know, with a little bit of time, they might yet be able to come back to one another. So that's the hope. But I mean, certainly in terms of Jamie and Claire, it was great that, like, they were able to find a place that they're going to call home. They are alive, they are together, and they are in love. So it's like, yes, I accept. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Like, that's the circle. They are alive, they are happy, and they are in love. That is the circle.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think it was I really did think it was a good episode. And you're right, there was drama, but there was it almost felt like a landing point to jump off more stories. And so there was drama, but it wasn't so traumatic as episode 1 and episode 2 were. And so, I mean, I still love Roger and Bree, and my ships don't sail often, y'all, and I need this. And yeah, I'm just happy that Jamie and Claire found home.
Yes,
they found home.
Agree. And also, I also want to say that the Highland Festival that they went to in North Carolina, that was so super cool. Like the dancing, and then, like, the calling of the clans that they did as well. So it was just, I mean, like, and of course, Bree gives Roger the book about, like, Scottish immigrants who settled in America during the colonial era. But it is interesting to think about sort of the continuation of that culture and the continuation of that heritage, like, even into the 20th century and beyond. I mean, it was really great. And it also, it reminds me of a scene that's, I think, in book 5, of sort of a similar type of gathering that happens. So it's like, again, it's sort of like we're sort of circling ourselves and in time and in story. So it was, I just thought it was a really cool festival. I want to go to one.
I thought it was really neat. I thought it was really cool. And I was like, and I even tweeted it. Like, I wonder if like Roger's like the rock star of that festival, because he's like the dude from Scotland who can like play and like sing these ballads and like has this really thick Scottish, accent. Like, is he like the rock star here? Is everyone like that guy?
I bet. I was like, next time, can we get some Black folk in the seat? I mean, I'm pretty sure that there are Black Scottish people. But I'm like, can we get some Black folk in there as well? So
up a bit.
And also celebrate the Scottish heritage. I don't have any Scottish heritage at all. But I mean, I would like to go. I imagine that would be like something really cool. I don't know. That's just what I think. But whatever. Who am I?
I mean, who knew that North Carolina was like super popping with the Scottish people? Like, I never knew that until tonight.
True. We learned something new. We always learn something new.
I'm not going to Google it, so I just assume it is truth.
Well, Diana Gabaldon did all of the research, so we trust her. We trust in her.
And speaking of like this Scottish community, where's Murtagh? Where is he at? Because this Scottish community, my friend better show up like running some business. He better have the love of his life. He better have a kid. And I know I'm asking for a lot, but I feel like I can.
Well, that's all we're going to say about that. That's all we're going to say about that.
That was such a polite way of shutting me down.
That's all we're going to say about that. No, but that's what I said. Like, after episode 1, I was like, I'm just going to say one thing. Give me Murtagh. And that still applies. Like, that's all I'm going to say. Give me Murtagh. I have a hypothesis about how Murtagh is going to show up and what is going to be Murtagh's story. I have a hypothesis, but I'm going to keep it to myself because I do not want to spoil. However, if you are a book reader, come find me on social media at We So Nerdy. Wait.
Over here. Oh.
At We So Nerdy. Come find me. And I will DM you my hypothesis, but I'm pretty sure that we're on similar wavelengths, guys. But I will tell you my hypothesis. But it's my guess, and I think I'm going to be right. I'm excited.
I just saw all that dancing that they were doing at the festival, and I was like, Murtagh dances.
Murtagh, come to us. Okay, Katie, I think that's all I have. How about you?
Yeah, that's all I've got too. It was good. I enjoyed it.
For sure. And again, remember, I was like, I don't know that I really want an episode of just Bri and Roger. Can we put it together? And they did, and I'm quite satisfied. So I guess I will wish our friends who live in the United States a happy Thanksgiving this week, and may you have lots of wonderful time with friends and family, some good food, maybe some shopping if that's also what you like to do. Yes. But enjoy and have a great week. Hopefully you at least get to take a couple days break. We all need that break, so hopefully you do that.
Yes, have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great week. Thanks so much for watching. And if you travel, be safe and just enjoy your foods and your shoppings, because that's important right now, is we have some fun.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great week. We'll see you next week, guys. Take it easy.
Bye.